Rob, the lack of interest in Lamar Jackson, at least reportedly. And we talked about it a bit yesterday. Atlanta, Carolina, Las Vegas. Who were the other teams? There were two other teams that had reportedly won't go after Lamar Jackson. Let me see. That would have Miami was one of the teams, and Washington. So, Rob, what is your thought? You think this is just, reporting that may not be true? It's teams that may change their mind. I will say this: some of the tweets, Rob, weren't like 100% definitive. Some of them were like not likely. A lot of them were like they're not likely to go at him. I've heard, from people around the league. You know what people around the league are? People from other teams.
Right.
I work for the Giants, and I'm saying, I've talked to some people. From what I'm hearing, the Dolphins aren't going to go after Lamar. They like Tua. But that doesn't mean that's true. That happens all the time.
That was my point yesterday in that, it wasn't like there's no way in hell we're signing Lamar. You know what I mean? Or trying to, like, that's not.
Right.
It's like it's unlikely. We're kind of happy with what we have right now. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't know if you're going to get him or not, so you don't want to put yourself out there. You might have somebody in place already, Chris, and if it doesn't happen. So it's not something you really want to go out publicly and make a stand on, but it doesn't mean that they can't circle back and, they start hearing that maybe there aren't that many people. I don't have to outbid 8 teams, and now all of a sudden I look at it and go, maybe this would be great. Maybe I could, we could make this happen and get us a franchise quarterback for the future. So I'm not convinced.
I think what you just said, Rob, is responsible. I think that's balanced. We're not even reporting anything, but just a balanced opinion, because a team can always come back and change its mind. An anonymous quote can always be wrong. So there's no doubt about that. But from what it looks like, Rob, and I don't think there is, quote unquote, official collusion. I don't think there will be official collusion. Do I think, though, a lot of owners, maybe all, I have no idea, but maybe all are like, we cannot open up this bag of worms. We cannot give this quarterback a fully guaranteed deal. I get it. They gave it to Kirk Cousins. That was an odd situation. He had been franchised 2 years in a row. So they actually paid him less in that year when he got the fully guaranteed deal, because, Rob, if you get franchised your second year, your salary's off the charts. Right. And so that, they were kind of getting a little break, even though they fully guaranteed the 3-year deal. It was a short deal too. Deshaun, obviously, Haslam is desperate in Cleveland. And I'm not saying that's right, because we've talked about how not only quarterbacks, I think when you play at a certain level and you've done it for a few years, at the very least, you should get a fully guaranteed deal, if not all players. But that's another discussion. But it seems like, Rob, that and you remember I said this, like, I don't think the Ravens are like, we don't want Lamar. What can we get for him? I think they really believed, and right now it looks like it might be true, he's not going to get the offer he thinks he is out on the market. And so we can either match a lesser offer that he gets, or he'll see that, he's not going to get that fully guaranteed contract he wants. And so it'll make it easier for us to negotiate a deal with him.
Well, I can understand that, but they also could be wrong where somebody steps up and says, okay, Lamar, here's $250 fully guaranteed, and then they'll have to blink. And so when you put them out there for that, you might feel good, Chris, that nobody wants to do that, but it's been done twice already before. And at some point, some of these owners who have never been to the promised land, never had that quarterback they thought could really put them in the mix for the Super Bowl, And if you're an owner, for the most part, I get it. Some of these owners they're happy to make money, and if you win, fine. If not, it's good. But there's a part of it that goes with ego about wanting to win a Super Bowl and have your day in the sun. Just one day, Chris. You know what? Like, it's a big deal.
I think Jerry Jones would. Now, I don't know where he stands on the guaranteed deals, but if he didn't have Dak,
he'd be all over.
He might jump out there, right? I mean, he said he'd do anything to get a Super Bowl and all that.
He won, and he has 3 Super Bowls, but you know what? He doesn't have the one that he wants, Chris.
Right.
He didn't have the one
where
that he
gets
wants.
the credit.
Yes.
Right. Well, Rob, the latest odds actually have, you'll like this, the Detroit Lions as the favorites. Now, I think this list is kind of they're just throwing stuff at the wall. They got Detroit favored. They got Tampa Bay second. I don't see Tampa Bay getting involved in this, Rob.
They're getting rid of everybody, Chris.
They're going to rebuild, so I think that's bogus. Indianapolis, I mean, that could make sense because
they've been dying for a quarterback, Chris.
Right.
They've had 10 quarterbacks the last 7 years or whatever it is.
Absolutely. So that makes sense. You got Jonathan Taylor. Can you imagine that run game? The Jets are 4th, which obviously we think makes sense. Tennessee 5th. That makes sense as well. That's the top 5. Jared Goff. Now, look, do I think Lamar Jackson's better than Jared Goff? Yes. But Jared Goff, Rob, really came on strong at the end of last season with the 15 touchdowns, no picks. We know he's been to a Super Bowl. You and I both have kind of said we're not saying he's like a Pro Bowl or a all-pro level quarterback,
but he's a good
quarterback. He's been underrated.
He's been underrated, and because the Rams dumped him and they won with Stafford, people tried to say it was all his fault, Chris, but he was a good quarterback. He's good. He's a good quarterback, is what I'm saying. He's a good
and Rob, he's generally healthy.
Right.
He's played 17 all games last year, 14 the year before that, 15, 16, 16, 15. So I don't know. Look, again, do I think Lamar's better? Yes. But I don't know that I wouldn't you're not going to get a chance to get Lamar next year probably. But that's a tough. Would you, if you're the Lions, would you go after? Because you could probably trade Goff and get something decent for him. Would you go ahead and get rid of him for Lamar and, then trade Goff to get something for him to help your team?
If you can get Lamar, Chris, at his age, he's young, got an MVP. He's a generational, once in a lifetime kind of talent like we haven't seen. If you could do anything to add him to your team and give yourself a real chance, I would do it. I would do it. Even over, like, quarterbacks who are pretty good or very good or whatever it is.
Which is what Goff is. He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
And he last year 29-7. 29 touchdowns, 7 picks. But
yeah, so if you're Detroit, I'm just saying I don't think it's gonna happen. But
he'd be great in Detroit. Well, that offense, Rob, with him, that offense was good last year. Their problem was defense, and you could trade Goff for some assets or defensive players, whatever you can get to build up that defense. My only concern would just be the health issue. Not that I'm concerned about Lamar's health, but I do have a guy in Goff that is generally healthier, I should say, than Lamar. And that would be the only question. Is he on the upside? You got to probably really be in that organization, Rob, to know how good you think Goff is. You know what I mean?
Right. No,
before you to really make an educated decision on that. But that's a tough one. Obviously, you'd love to get Lamar. I think Detroit is on the rise, and he's better than Goff. But is he going to be better for the next 3 years? And he's going to be healthy?
Well, those are the big questions.
And the money, of course.
But his upside is bigger. I just think that, he's untapped. I would love to see
Lamar?
him, Chris. Yeah. Even though he's won an MVP unanimously, I just think we haven't seen
strong.
We haven't seen the best of him. I think he could be even better, better than he has been the last few years. How about that?
Well, he was, the year he
Not
had,
the first
3 years ago when he won the
right.
MVP, 3-4 years ago, whatever that was.
Right.
He was fantastic.
I'm just saying.
We've said it, Rob. I've said it for years now, right? Let's see him with a top receiver.
Right.
And now they don't have that in Detroit either. But, with Garrett Wilson, who's very good as a rookie last year in New York. That's what I do want to see, because a top receiver, Stephon Diggs, helped Josh Allen get to the next level. For 1 year, at least, it worked with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. You know, we've seen receivers really take that, help the quarterback get to the next level. So I do want to see Lamar in that situation, Rob, with a great receiver. In that, I do think kind of, again, untapped might be strong, but I agree with you that I think passing the football, he can.
I just think that there's more he can do. How about that? Yeah, there's more he can do. Like he's not tapped out where we know what he is totally, and he's never going to get better than where he is. I don't think that. I
he
think
may
he
not run it better, but he can certainly get better as a passer.
Yeah,
and he still runs it fine.